Well, I found one shell, and I was like, this is going to be it. Like, we're done. We got to be. And I fucking put the shell in, and I fucking clocked it back. Spun it around, and I was like, this is it. And I just stared at it, and then I couldn't reach the trigger. And I started crying because I was like, I can't do it. So I finally figured out that if I put my toe on the trigger, that I could get this done. Finally, I was like, we're done. And I clicked the fucking trigger, and all it did was click. And I remember I just started bawling because God was dooming me to this life. He wouldn't even let me fucking end it. Then it was a couple of months later, we went to go skeet shooting. He wanted to teach me how to skeet shoot. He grabs his gun. He's like, why the fuck isn't it in the case? You've been fucking with my gun. You know, and then he fucking breaks it open, and he's like, the fuck is there a shell in this thing? Well, it turns out the way he had it modified is it was a 2-pull trigger.
Yeah.
So you pull one and the one barrel goes, and you pull it again and the next barrel goes. I clicked the first one.
Cliff, Savagely Loud.
What's happening, brother?
How are you, man? You got to start it off the way you start your rants.
What's happening, people? Guys, check this out. It's Savagely Loud time.
There we go, baby.
That'll be great.
So you and I had dinner the other day, and I didn't want to continue the conversation about your youth because I thought it was very powerful. And I think we need to, in order to understand where you are today, I think we need to understand where you came from.
Okay. So I was one of two kids. My sister was mentally handicapped, mentally retarded, special needs. Like
She was a liberal?
No, she was actually medically that way. not just stupid, but she's 10 years older than I am, but she's going to perpetually be a very, very slow 12-year-old. So I kind of had to raise her, but in that atmosphere, I was the whipping boy. Like my dad was an aggressive person. He didn't know how to handle his emotions. He would become overwhelmed because he was beaten as a kid, and then he went into the military, this and the other thing. And so I became the whipping boy. So anything that pissed my dad off, I caught the beating for it. My sister fucked up. He never hit her, which I respected, but I got hit a lot. My mom fucked up. I got hit. You know, somebody pissed him off at work, I got hit. So I would...
How old were you at this time?
Since birth, yeah. Like he would just beat the fuck out of me all the time. So, but going through school got kind of rough because when you go to school every day, like kids are vicious. Well, when you go into school every day and you're all fucked up and, you know, you're still kind of bleeding from the night before, you're bruised up, everybody just alienates you. Like everybody just, it's like when you, if you've ever done the bowl of water and you put a bunch of pepper in the water and then you put a drop of Dawn dish soap, all the pepper scatters to that was like my school career. So
that's a crazy analogy, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's how it was. It was just like, I was repellent to these kids. So
sure.
I couldn't, but school was also my reprieve. It was my peace. It was where I got to go that he couldn't get me.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, school life wasn't awesome. Go home, get your ass beat, and then you just kind of repeat it every day. And I got to a point though where I had to figure this out because I started getting this where maybe it's my fault that everybody hates me. You know, like because I was born to parent. Like when you're born to parents, like they're the people that are supposed to love you. Like they don't get a choice. These are the ones that are supposed to love you. Mine didn't. So I wanted to figure out what I was doing that made them not. Why my life was different. So ever since I could remember, I just read psychology books. You know, like I spent a lot of. I was a bad kid because you know when you're alienated, you become the lone wolf, and then everybody's against you. They may not be. But you perceive that as an attack. Everything they ask you, every time they look at you, they're attacking you. So you have to go on the attack. And then I started getting bullied, and then I just kind of lost it. I became the anti-bully. Then, but I was reading these psychology books to try to unfuck my mind because I was thinking, even at that age. Now I couldn't articulate this back then, but at that age, looking back, I was trying to seek wisdom. You know, I was trying to figure out why I was given this life of hell. And everywhere I looked, it was like, you know, everybody had this magical fucking existence. And I was always limping. My arm was in a sling, or, you know, I had to have my fucking eyes wrapped up because my dad beat the fuck out of me. So I would just read these books and then I would go for walks always alone and just think. I always ruminate. Like that's what I do. When something bothers me, I don't need anybody. I don't want anybody. I need to do this myself.
Same.
because the only way this is going to get figured out is for me to get down into the dirty shit of it, not avoid it, but embrace it, dig through it. And, basically I say, like, you kick the door open in your mind and you call the ghosts to the front of the room and you figure out what the fuck is going on.
See, that's very powerful for two reasons. A, you were young and you were cognizant enough and aware enough to know to do that. And two, even as adults, people generally don't like to look at themselves, warts and all, right? Oh, I'm fine. It's your fault. It's her fault. It's his fault. We lack the ability to ruminate on the real issues because we just don't like to admit that perhaps we have something to fix within ourselves. So that's commendable, dude. A, on your age, and B, the fact that you have the balls to do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the only way the shit gets figured out.
I agree.
I've always been, I think people tell you it's your fault, the blah, 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 blah. So it's a wild proposition to me for people to not introspectively look at themselves and tear apart what I am before I tear apart what you are.
Okay, but I think there are circumstances where maybe it is not your problem, right? Especially in your situation. Again, the fact that you were brave enough to try and look within to see if it was your fault, but certainly in your case, it wasn't your fault. So I don't think it's always the go-to reaction that everything is my fault. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you're just fucking an idiot. But there are circumstances where, maybe we have to be self-aware enough to know that maybe it's not me, maybe it is you.
I kind of learned this thing where it's like I practice this thing I call radical acceptance. Everything that's ever happened to you is your fault. Figure out why the fuck it happened. And like you said, maybe a lot of these things weren't my fault. A lot of these things aren't the fault of the people. But if you look at it from that perspective, if you say, I'm going to accept that this is my fault, it allows you to twist things and look at it, because I look at every problem. I put every problem that's presented to me, whether it's my own, somebody else's, I put that bitch in the middle of an open field and I walk the fuck around it. 365 different angles you can look at this problem from, as long as you know how to look at it. And you will find an answer. The answer is, a lot of the times, fuck them. But at least it allows you to look at it.
That I agree on. I think you need to examine the problem and at least be self-aware enough to realize that, okay, it isn't my problem. That's the problem. I need to cut that person or thing or whatever the circumstance is out of my life. That's brilliant, dude.
Right.
Okay, sorry, continue.
But as I went on through my school career, I remember where
Were you a good student?
No. I'm a high school dropout. They passed me out of 8th grade just to get me out of the school with a 1.5 grade point average, which was my all-time high. But they had to get me out of the school because I went rebel. I was going to burn the world down. I became a skinhead at a very young age. I was a clique leader at 15. That tells you how violent and aggressive I was.
I dig violence, though.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's a good release. Especially if they have it coming. But
I'm sorry. What is a clique leader?
A clique leader, CO, commanding officer. Like skinheads work in cliques, gangs. Cliques.
No shit,
Yeah.
really.
So in order to be of any sort of commanding office, you have to be the most aggressive motherfucker in the room. And so I would,
Brother.
I would go in and I was talking to people like I was talking to 40-year-old men trying to change their minds at 15 about why we need to fight these racial issues that we have on our hands. And if they lipped out, I would walk right into the fucking chairs, because it was always just chairs. I'd walk right into the chairs and lay them down. Like, we're not fucking around. Like, this is my goddamn room, and you're going to fucking respect this, or you're going to get the fuck out of here, but that's how you have to be. It's like, you just had to be that way. So,
and forgive me. So a skinhead mentality is what? How would you define their doctrine?
My race is my religion, and my skin is my uniform.
Wow.
Yep. That's exactly what it was. This color that I'm wearing right now, if you try to fuck with this, you have to die.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I presume you've seen that movie, American History X. Yeah. So that's what we're talking about?
Yeah. That's a glorified version of it. It's a little Disney, but yeah.
It's worse than that?
Oh, it gets so much worse than that.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets so much worse than that. Like we would have these missions called street cleanup. So what we would do is, we're from Northern Illinois. And we would go down to a place called Cicero, which is right outside Chicago. And gangland, black, Mexican, and we'd do street cleanups, which means we'd all load up the trucks full of dudes, vans, trucks, and we'd go down in the middle of the night and we'd just start stomping people, just stomping them on the side of the fucking, on the side of the road. You know, they're trying to fucking pass out their rocks and shit. Next thing you know, you got 80 fucking dudes stomping you into a fucking manhole cover. You know, we were doing this for our country, our race, you know.
Fists or weapons?
Fists mostly. We skinheads are huge fans of fists and feet, you know.
I respect that.
I like to get, and you know, the other thing is, you know, we can never use guns. Like we would use bats and shit every now and then. Never use guns because it wasn't personal enough. Like I wanted you to know this was me doing this to you.
Nice.
And I wanted you to tell God when you got there who did this, you know? And I wanted to look in your eyes. If I had to staple your fucking eyelids to your forehead to make you watch me do what I was going to do to you, then I would do that. You know, that's how it was. You know, you have that level of aggression in you.
Wow. Do you think that aggression stems from something internal, or is it just the sort of philosophy of your clique?
I think well, for me, it came from just a whole life of resentment.
Sure.
And anger at my dad, at my mom for not stopping what he was doing. I mean, my dad, like, there's been several times where, you know, I'd wake up, like I knew I was in trouble. I'd walk in the door and then I'd wake up in my mom's arms and she's crying because he beat me unconscious.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, like this wasn't a joke. Like this is the shit I dealt with all the time. You know, I would be sitting in my living room and I'd see you know, back in the day, you didn't know where your friends were. You had to ride your bikes around until you found all the bikes in the front yard.
Yeah, me.
I'd watch them all ride by, you know, but I couldn't go outside because I was too fucked up. Like I was like mopping injuries up and shit, you know. I just wanted to be out there, wanted to be like, I wanted to have their life, you know. And because I wanted somebody else's life, I knew there had to be a reason I got this one. So to backtrack a little bit, you know, I started reading the books, started listening, I started ruminating, just introspectively searching my own soul for what the answers were. And the day that I knew there was a reason for all of this, I was walking out of a store called Zayre's. It was back in the day with my dad. And
Zayre's, for us, we have Zayre's in Canada. They're grocery stores.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. We don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
But it was back in the day. But we were walking out of Zayre's one day. And I happened to notice him screaming. So I looked down this aisle and there was this little redheaded kid and he was getting his ass handed to him by his dad. And he was not taking it well. And I got really fucking mad. But the problem was I didn't get mad at the dad. I got mad at the kid because fuck you. You're not taking this very well. You need to be stronger than this. But in that moment fucked me up a little bit. So I was thinking about it. And that's when I realized the balance of life. Some people have to get it. So some people don't get it. And the people that have to get it only get it because they're strong enough to handle it. So when I the more I thought about it, I was like, that kid couldn't handle it. That's why I get what I get. That's why I get this life because he couldn't handle it, you know?
That's a crazy conclusion to come to. I wouldn't go so far as to say that's a correct attitude to go to. Like that's essentially you taking on all the fuck. You're just bearing the weight of the world. You're taking on, I mean, on one hand, it's admirable because you're taking on the weakness of other people, right? But for you, again, at that age, to bear that brunt is crazy.
It made it noble for me. It gave it a purpose. You know, so I mean, it did eventually lead to, you know, like I had a suicide attempt when I was 12 years old. Because everything got overwhelming. Like I felt like I couldn't handle the weight that I was carrying. I couldn't carry it for all these other kids. I couldn't carry it for all these other parents. I couldn't carry it for all these other people. And I couldn't carry the weight of my own life and what I had to deal with, you know, in my personal life. So, to get a little descriptive, when I was 12 years old. So like I grew up in a hoarder's house. My dad, everything that was a good deal, he bought, you know, or he grabbed. And it's like, that's where I always say it's only a good deal if you need it. It's because my house growing up was trails. Like it was just shit everywhere. Trails here and there, you know, you walk through the rooms, kitchens, everything was a trail. So we had this room in the back of our house we called it the spare bedroom. And it was the catch-all room. It was just stacked full of shit. I mean, he even had cabinets, like these sky blue laminated cabinets that he got, like they were just stacked up. Well, there was just a pile of shit everywhere. And so I kind of went in there and I was just done. Like we have to be done. This is over. So he had a gun. He had a lot of guns, but this one gun, I wanted the last thing to see that I saw be the most beautiful thing I'd ever laid eyes on before that. He had an Ithaca 12 gauge over under shotgun, break action, but the
Yeah.
whole thing was etched, filigree work everywhere. It was the most beautiful gun I've ever seen in my life. Well, I found one shell, and I was like, "This is gonna be it. Like we're done. We gotta be." So I grabbed that gun, I pull it out of this cloth case that he kept it in, and I just admired it for a while. I'm like, this is what I need. I need this beauty, you know. So I took that one shell and I kind of wallowed down into this pile of garbage. It was like we literally had bags of garbage in this room. So I wallowed down into this pile of garbage, and I fucking put the shell in, and I fucking clocked it back, spun it around, and I was like, "This is it." And I just stared at it, and I was like, and I didn't know really what was going to happen or how to get this effectively because I grew up watching movies with my dad, Rambo and Commando, So I kind of had this childish version of where you needed to be to get the most efficacy out of it. Well, finally, I was just like, "We're going to taste it." So I stuck it in my mouth, and then I couldn't reach the trigger, and I started crying because I was like, "I can't do it." Well, then I looked over, and there was this fly swatter sitting there, like that you kill flies with. I was like, "Well, I can do it with this," and I couldn't get that to work. So I finally figured out that if I put my toe on the trigger, that I could get this done. So I'm sitting there and I'm tasting it and I'm just like, I'm taking in all the sensory aspects of it, like the gunpowder that's been in the end of the barrel, the metal itself. And then I just started like thinking and tasting the work that went into etching this gun, this beautiful piece of machinery. And finally I was like, we're done. And I clicked the fucking trigger and all it did was click. And I remember I just started bawling because God was dooming me to this life. He wouldn't even let me fucking end it. I got mad. I fucking pulled it out and I pulled it out of my mouth and fucking stood up and I got mad and I threw it back in the fucking closet and then I fucked off and did some other shit. Just losing my shit, mad at God, mad at my parents, mad at the neighbors, the school kids. I was mad at the whole world.
Mm.
And then it was a couple of months later, we went to go skeet shooting. He wanted to teach me how to skeet shoot. So he grabs his gun. He's like, "Why the fuck isn't it in the case? You've been fucking with my gun." And then he fucking breaks it open and he's like, "The fuck is there a shell in this thing?" Well, turns out the way he had it modified is it was a 2-pull trigger.
Yeah.
So you pull one and the one barrel goes and you pull it again and the next barrel
Yes.
goes. I clicked the first one. I didn't
Wow.
get the second one. I got too mad and too depressed and too sad to get to know that there was a second trigger pull involved. So I got mad through that, he got mad and he beat my ass all over the fucking county for that because he knew I was fucking with his gun. And then we went skeet shooting and I was still crying in the car. So he slapped me until I stopped crying, And we ended up having a good time, and my first time skeet shooting, I got 25 in a row. So, but yeah, that was, but that led to, again, ruminating, figuring out what the fuck I need to figure out in order to get through this life, to navigate this shit that was given to me. Does that make sense?
That's deep, brother. That's fucking insane. For you to have those trials at such a young age. Just, I mean, past that, did you ever have a relationship with your father?
When I had to,
Why?
because he didn't like to do things alone. Like my dad was he was very adamant. Like somebody had to be doing something with him. So he would make me enjoy stuff with him. And I mean, he was the reason I got into mountain biking. I was racing mountain bikes for a while, Pro Flex, and then until they became K2 and then fuck that. And I'm a huge Specialized fan. I had Cannondale Super V700, had Trax. I had all these bikes, but, it turns out Specialized was the one I wanted. And, I had the presence of mind of knowing that I couldn't have found this enjoyment if it wasn't for him being who he was and forcing me to do things. Ulterior motives on his end, of course, but it did open my eyes. So that is one of those things that I took, like perspective training, It's like, it's not always what you do or what you go through. It's how you fucking look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, to give credence to your father for you finding joy in, you know, motorbikes, like you're grasping at slivers to find some kind of, and again, that's very powerful again on you that you you would give him that gift, right? You found enjoyment in something and you found it, you just found the grace within yourself to give something to him. Like you gave it, you know, most people would say, you know what, I started to enjoy mountain bikes or motorbikes. And that would be it. But you said, because of my father needing someone around himself, I found the joy of mountain bikes. Again, that's, first of all, you're very articulate, you're very introspective, and you're deep. You have the complete opposite look to that kind of individual,
Mhm.
right? Which is great. Um, but even now, like we had dinner last today's Friday, right? We had dinner Wednesday. In speaking to you then and in the past, in just in small snippets, I found on dinner on Wednesday that again you were very articulate and deep, but you actually just blew the fuck mind off me with this shit.
Well, here's the thing is I can't be him. And if I'm not gonna be him, I have to figure out how that works. And how that works is now I'm at a place now where, like, I don't carry the weight of all that. Like, the way I look at my dad now, and it's not with
Is he
rose.
still alive?
No, both my parents are everybody in my family is fucking dead. You
I'm
know, like
sorry, your sister too?
no, well, my sister, the state of Wisconsin took her from, and they wouldn't give me any information for years and years and years, so I gave up because she was a ward of the state.
Right.
So
Why did she become a ward of the state?
because she's mentally handicapped and she can't live on her own. So she would go in these houses where there would be a custodial supervisor that
Mm.
lived in the apartment building, and then there would be wings off of in for all these apartments. So if you weren't all the way like in a fucking wheelchair, it gave them the sense that they could live on their own. They could live an
Sure.
independent life.
Yeah.
So because that, basically the state owned her because they paid for all that. They put her up into these places. The last time I saw her was I drove up to move her out of a place called Wild Rose and move her back down to Kenosha. And then they cut ties. Like I couldn't get a hold of her. She didn't have cell phone. She's, you know, she doesn't know how to do all that shit,
Yeah.
you know? So
But why was she taken from your dad?
she left my dad because she found this program through the state of Wisconsin where she could basically she thought that they could be the new dad, like the new person to go to because, you know, though he would provide for her, she didn't have a great relationship with my mom either.
Mm.
So that was her escape.
So we didn't touch on your mom. What happened to her?
My mom got she's dead, but she started getting what's that? Where your bones weaken? Like she went to get in my dad's truck one day, and
So
and her arm.
osteoporosis?
Okay, yeah, she went and get my dad's truck one day and broke her arm, just pushing herself up into the thing.
Oh, that's
right in the
severe.
fucking half.
Yeah, yeah.
So then she went into heart, you know, massive heart problems and this and that. She had a couple of heart attacks.
So, but what did your mom do while your father was beating the shit out of you?
Watched.
Fuck off. So did you resent your mother?
Yeah, for a long time. But as I grew up and I was able to figure things out and I get into that mentalist aspect of it, the more I understood that it was either going to be I get my ass beat and she nurses me back to health,
Mm.
or we both get our ass beat and nobody nurses us back to health.
That's a hard acceptance to come to, man.
Yeah.
And again, it's very enlightened you to take that sort of Buddhist approach to it, but that's fucking crazy to me.
Well, it's like the way I look at my dad. It's now I look at my dad and I'm like, this motherfucker just didn't have the tools. I got the tools to deal with this shit. He didn't have the tools, and that's not a cop out and it's not an excuse. Fuck that guy.
Mm.
But we live in a different time, and I'm a different person.
I think there's value in the understanding why people are people, but as you and I have discussed, and just earlier, I'm not of the forgiving type.
Right.
So, and you know, some people say that I lack the growth perhaps to forgive people. I just don't, right? I think you and I are going to be solid. You fuck me over. that we're done.
Yeah.
And I just don't see the point. There's some talk of actual contrition, like if you're truly sorry for the sins that you did, but I don't know.
Yeah, my dad wasn't sorry. He wasn't sorry. And that's the thing, is I'm not alleviating his responsibility from this whole equation.
Right.
This is for me. This makes my life better, because fuck you. You tried to ruin this motherfucker, and I'm going to show you that you have no power over me.
And what is so inspiring about what you just said, it would have been very easy for you to go down a very bad path. And you have, and you did, and you made mistakes. But I do believe in the ability for growing. I do believe in the ability to always, because I fucking hate the whole victim mentality.
Yeah.
Right. And you could have, dude, if anyone could have played that card, it was you. You probably had a fucking deck worthy of victim cards that you could have played, but you didn't choose to use them. You chose to rise above them. And that, mad respect for that, dude.
Yeah.
So what I think you've just said is people can use that to reinforce the fact that you are capable of rising out of your circumstances.
Well, that's what I always tell people. Like, I know it's very cliche and stereotypical. Everybody says it. Like, if I can do it, you can do it.
But it's true, though.
Motherfucker, if I can do it, being through what I've been through, anybody can do it, Because, there was that, and my drug addiction and my racism.
So let's go to that. So how did you get to the drug addiction? Because it was impressive.
Yeah, it was fucking impressive. I started out, so it was, what was that? That would be Mr. Stein was so that would have been 5th grade. There was a bunch there was a bunch of people down in, that I knew that they were, and I found them at we had in Wildwood, Illinois is where I grew up. And we had this place called Park District of Wildwood. It was rural estate before that, and then the Park District bought it. Well, they had the gazebo, and this gazebo went about 30 feet out into the water, and then it was
nice.
just it was very nice, yeah. Well, I had gone down there, and as soon as I came around the corner, everybody, there was a group of them, and they're like, this and that, and they're like, oh, it's just that fucking guy. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And they didn't like me, obviously, but I was like, what are you guys doing? Because here's my thing, is I couldn't even fight at that young age. I could take a beating. I'll take any fucking beating you deliver me.
There is skill in that. Not healthy. It's not good for you, but it's very disconcerting when I would fight people and you'll clock them and they fucking smile at
Giggle,
you.
yeah.
And then you're like,
that's
oh,
it?
fuck.
Yeah. I get hit harder than that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd gone down there and they were smoking weed out of a pop can,
Okay.
And it was, I later found out it was a fucking pile of seeds, which you don't smoke. But, I tried that and and I didn't get much out of it. And then a buddy of mine, I had a couple of friends, and we went over to their house, and then he pulled an actual bud, weed bud, out, and he stuck it in this bong, and I took a hit, and I was like, we're in. This is I don't give a fuck about a lot of things right now. This is great. And then eventually, I went from weed, and then I got into ecstasy, and I got into muscle relaxers, and I got into fucking coke, and then I was really into coke. So this was more towards my 20s.
Why muscle relaxants?
Because it would allow it. It wasn't like I didn't like them. They got handed to me, and I had a death wish. So it's like I don't really give a fuck. Throw them back.
Oh, okay.
So we had this one where I went to this barbecue at a guy's house, and there was a bunch of people there, and somebody walked up and he just had a handful of random shape color pills. He's like, dude, try these. I'm like, okay, let's do it. All of them. He's like, you took all of them? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then it was, I don't know, half hour later, we were all at the barbecue line, and I was just like, ooh. And everybody turned, and they're like, dude, all your color just left. And they were like, we got to call an ambulance. And I started going down. So I laid down in the grass, and people were like, you keep talking to me. So it was one of those times where I was ODing.
Was that ecstasy?
No, that was just muscle relax. I don't even know what it was. I think it was muscle relaxers
YOLO.
and shit like that. Yeah. But later on was my coke OD, because, I got to a point where I was selling it, right? I started selling it before I ever did it, because I wanted the money. Because I wanted to get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
If I got money, I could leave.
Yep.
Well, the dude I was selling it for he's like, you're going to make a lot of fucking money. Don't ever do it. He's like, It's easier to say no if you ain't never had it. And those words have stuck with me to this day. It is easier to say no if you've never had it. Well, I had it. And the first couple lines I did, I was like, there's nothing here. It feels like it just sandblasted the inside of my fucking brain. And there's nothing here. And then next thing you know, I'm doing it. And I got to a point where I was making about $10,000 a week selling, selling half keys and shit like that. And I used to drive around my work schedule. I did my day job. I came home at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I went to bed till 9 o'clock because the fucking cokeheads were going to be up soon. So I had a 2003 Ram Dodge quad cab, and all the pillar trim, A pillar, B pillar, C pillar, it's the things that go up between the doors and the windshield. I had figured out that if I could pop those panels off, and I had all my rocks in little bags and teeners, and I would hang them from a string, and I would put them in there, and then I'd clip the panels back on, and then when I had the delivery, I'd pop the panel off, I'd pull one out of the string, here you go, pop the panel back in, good to go. But then, I became the guy. I became that stereotypical cliche dude where I started selling it, never having done it, and then I became my only customer. I was selling the shit and just to afford my own habit, and then it became where I had to sell more and more and more because I was giving myself I was selling myself 3 gram 8 balls for $40 to $60. And I was spending just south of $1,000 a week on my own habit. Most people will buy an 8 ball to party the whole weekend. I was doing 3 or 4 of them a day because and it was a Peruvian flick. I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, that's top end shit. Like you don't get much better.
Yeah, I actually am quite ignorant on, I don't have very much knowledge on drugs. That's why it's so interesting for me to talk to people, not only who have done it, but who just know about it. I just like knowing things I don't know about.
Yeah.
So continue.
But yeah, and then eventually I OD'd on the floor again, and I was at some fucking trap house with some shitbags.
What's a trap house?
It's just a bunch we're a drug house.
Okay.
Where all the shitbags go to do drugs.
All right.
So I'm like, these are my people, But we did in the movie Blow with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Where he portrayed the George Young character who basically really started the influx of cocaine into America. I idolized that guy. Like I wanted to be the next George Young. Well, he was talking about this challenge they did, was 10 grams in 10 minutes, and we all called it the 10-10 challenge. One night we were going to do it. And typically you would do this with some stomped on bullshit from the ghetto. But I had Peruvian flag, that's what I did.
So is 10 grams a lot?
10 grams is a fucking lot. Yeah, it's a fucking lot.
Okay.
But like I said, 3 grams people will buy for all weekend.
Oh my God.
And I've got 10 minutes to do 10 grams. So I got the 9th gram in, and I remember there was a fucking guy had a mirror, whoever it was, had a mirror sitting on a thing, and I literally just watched my eye go poof, and it just like when they drop the red dye in water, that's what my whole eye did that, and I was just like, and I fell back, and I was laying on the floor, people stepping over me, I started fucking like convulsing a little bit. But I was conscious the whole time, and people were just stepping over me. And then again, an epiphanatic moment,
Good word.
I'm like, these motherfuckers are me. I am these motherfuckers. They're walking over me as I'm dying. Can't fucking be you. Well, I got to stop this shit. So it was a couple of days later, the way my room was set up in my house, because I lived with my parents at the time, we had these built-in dressers. And one of them, my dad had kicked the shit out of, so he had to just get it out of the wall. So there was this cubby hole, and I put this old TV that didn't work in there, and then I shoved my bed up against. That was my kind of my nightstand. But I had a saucer with all my coke on it all the time, and my morning routine was I'd start waking up, and I'd reach over and I'd grab my blades. I always used 2 blades at a time because it chopped it finer and faster. 2 razor blades. So I would be chopping on my rock. I'd hold my rock with my ring finger, and I would chop it with my other like this.
Wow.
So, and I didn't have my eyes open yet because I needed this to get going. And I said, this is going to be the last fucking time. That's it. So I blasted my rails. My rails were just south of the size of a Sharpie marker at that point.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was like, this is the last fucking time this is going to happen. And then it was the last fucking time I ever did it.
That's amazing.
I quit cold turkey. And people are like, dude, some of the people I knew, they were like, you should go to treatment. Like, you could get help for this. Because we're talking DTs. Your legs are shooting out all the time. Like, you're sitting in class and fucking,
twitching. Yeah.
Or sitting at work, fucking twitching and shit. But I was like, no, because this isn't anybody else's burden to bear. This is something I did to me. This is something I've got to get through. I can't put this on somebody else, because that's the way I looked at the world is, everybody's problems. They always wanted to make everybody else's problems to deal with. And I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to take part in that shit. So I got through it. Took me a fucking year, but I got
But
through
it
it.
doesn't matter, dude. You got through it.
Yeah.
Like, I have mad respect for people. It's same way we talk about weight loss. And, you mentioned
Oh,
how
yeah. I'm on my
big were
journey.
you?
At my biggest, I was in the upper threes. We're almost touching 4.
Okay. So it would have been, first of all, like, it could have been very easy for you just to keep going down all these negative paths. But there's, as you said about your cocaine problem, or you said about your weight problem, you had enough and you decided that that was enough. And I take great inspiration for people, right? Because you were bitching about how you feel you're still big. You're
Oh,
not,
yeah, I'm a fat piece of shit
doesn't
still.
matter. Don't say that about yourself, but you're not as big as you were. Okay.
Right.
So it would be very easy for you to say, yeah, I'm still a fat piece of shit. Or you could say, I was a fat piece of shit, but I'm on my way to being a fucking stud. Right. So again, you decide. That's why I take inspiration from people. And I fucking hate people when they play victim, because it would have been very easy for you, dude. When you said, how I thought your story was going to go when you said about this is the last time I'm going to do coke. I thought you were going to tell me, and then I did it again the next day, and then I did it again the next day.
Yeah.
But you committed to not doing it, and you stopped. You were a fucking fat piece of shit, and you decided, I don't want to feel like this anymore, and you decided to get better, right? So maybe you're not where you want to be, but you're certainly better than where you were.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the power.
Well, and I understand that I am contradictory in a sense, because the one of the number one things I always say is your brain hears everything that comes out of your fucking mouth, and
100.
it takes notes.
100.
So everything that comes out of your mouth, your brain hears, and then it tells itself to believe.
Right.
However,
that's why I fucking on everybody. Don't talk about yourself like
Right.
that. Don't say that.
But I also, in me, I know that I can be a cocky. I like cocky. I think you have to earn cocky, and I respect cocky. Arrogance, you can fuck off. I have it in me.
I kind of
to become that.
I'm
yeah.
very close on that line of cocky to arrogant.
Yeah, that's fine.
I walk that line very.
But I know me, because I've had to know me, and I've done more searching inside me than most people ever will in their entire lives about themselves. So I understand that it's very easy for me to become an arrogant fucking prick. So that's why I will. It's more of a balance, not a self-deprecation, where I go, yeah, I'm on my way, dude. I'm fucking killing it. I'm 280 fucking pounds. I used to be almost 400 pounds. I fucking spent $20,000 hired this coach because I'm in. I'm still on my diets. I'm still fucking eating right shit. If I only allow myself to think about the great things that I feel like I'm doing, I will very quickly go, you know what? I've been through what? Why the fuck are you telling me your problems? Your problems ain't problems. I have to remind myself, like, if my problem is a 10, let's say, like I get my ass beat all the time by my dad, and that's a 10 for me. Your problem is a 10, but it's because you didn't get a BMW on your fucking 16th birthday. I don't get to feel your feelings, and you don't get to feel mine. So your 10 is still a 10, as is mine. They're just different categories.
I was arrogant like that at one point, right? And I very quickly learned that while I may not agree with why you're upset, I still have to accept the fact that you are upset, because I was that asshole before, and I'd be like, what the fuck's your problem? Why are you fucking upset? That's stupid, right?
Yeah.
Right. But I think I grew a little bit and came to understand that even though I may not understand why you're upset, or I may think the reason why you're upset is stupid, I still have to contend and accept the fact that you are upset and deal with that.
Right. Well, and that's part of like why, I've done so much suicide counseling in my life. Like, in grade school, I talked to this one dude was like, I felt it. Like I feel things like out of people, like I will walk into a room and I'll be like, you're going to be cool. You're going to be all right. You're going to be okay. Fuck you.
Yep. Same way.
We're done. Like I don't even have to talk to you. But that's so like I think it was 4th grade where the kid walked in the class. I just like felt weird. Be here long. So I started talking to him, and he's like, I just want to be here, blah 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 blah. And I was like, it's gonna be fine, and it wasn't, nothing nothing gravitational, but it was just talking to him. Well, come to find out that he was going to kill himself that day, and he didn't because I took the time to talk to him. So ever since then, like she's watched me, like I'm on a 20-hour work day, and I come home and I'm just ready to pass out. My phone rings, and this is when I have to answer because this dude, I know this dude, and he's got a problem. And if I don't answer this phone, he's going to die. So then I'll spend the next 8 hours on the phone with this motherfucker and just get him through it. And because the nighttime is a very, very dark place, and it's not light dark, it's dark mind. Like that's your mind will always go, your circadian rhythms alter. You will go into the darkest places of your mind at night. Never happens during the day. It happens at night because that's when it quiets down. The world quiets down. The loneliness sets in. You start getting introspective, and most people can't handle that kind of introspective thought without going to that place. So, it's all about like, I give a fuck about everybody without giving a fuck about anybody. Like, if that makes sense, like,
No, that's very good. I'm quite similar. I've had people reach out to me, and they've talked to me about how they're in a dark spot and how they don't feel like they're living, that their life is worth living. And I feel obligated to try and help them through that. I've never had someone actually, like we had a gentleman on our show, Victor, the good boss. And that's what he does. He just goes out and helps people. He'll find drug addicts and he'll bring them to rehab. He'll watch them. He'll pay for it. And when they get out, he'll give them a job. But I don't know if I would be able to handle trying to help somebody and then failing at that. And like, I think I would bear that weight. That would hurt me.
You have to be able to separate. So this is my actions. This is your actions. I can only take my actions so far to alter yours. But inevitably, this is going to be your decision. If you decide to go down this path that we've been working on not getting you to go down, that has been now your decision. I've done everything I can do.
But you don't feel like you could have given more?
No, because I give everything I can.
I just don't know if I wouldn't feel like maybe I could have done a little bit more.
I mean, that's a natural thought, though. But once you learn, going through the process, once you learn that, you have to be able to separate your actions from their actions. And, it's much like you. If somebody can try to come in your life and try to help you with something, but inevitably you're a bad motherfucker and you're going to make your own decisions,
Right. But I'm also sitting in a position of white privilege. I'm sitting in a position where I'm not struggling. I don't struggle. So it would be arrogant of me to presume that I can know what it was like to go through what you did. I would never do that. I could never say, I know what you're through. There's things that you've said in the course of our conversation, how you're empathic. So am I. I can go into a room and I can feel. That's why I'm also very good at negotiating with people, because I can start to feel how this conversation is going, and I know how to direct you to get you to inevitably where I want to go. Right. But your hardships, I could never fucking say, oh yeah, Cliff, I get you. I know what you feel. That would be completely fucking arrogant of me to say that.
Well, yeah, and that's why I never say I know how you feel. I say I feel how you feel being with you. Like I can feel your energy. So I can feel how you feel. I can't understand how you feel or why you feel that way. I can't understand every event that led to that, but I can feel how you feel. And then that puts you on the same level, at least.
But do you think someone would take the premise or the position that, well, if you've never felt what I've gone through, how do you know how I feel?
Because I've gone through worse.
You have, certainly.
Yeah. Well, and I think to in a large aspect, a lot of people have gone through worse. I mean, because it's not the comparison like this is bad and this is worse. It's how you perceived it. If your life has been fucking magical, and then this one thing that's not so magical happens, that has the power to devastate you in the very same way that my life has devastated me.
Sure.
So we're inevitably on that level.
But it's a matter of perspective. Like for me, the hardest thing, I can't even think of something hard I had to deal with today. I couldn't log into my bank account, right? Whereas someone who's gone through what you've gone through, it's significantly worse. I feel that doing you a disservice if I were to compare my hardships with yours.
And see, and that's fine. I don't feel that way. I don't, but I also don't compare. Like if somebody comes to me, because like I got a lot of people that I kind of mentor.
Mm.
So they come to me with their issues. It's not necessarily always a suicide thing, but it's like, hey man, I could really use some advice on this. What do you think I should do?
Yep.
I can tell you what I can do. I can tell you what I have done. I can tell you what may work, but I can't give you the guaranteed route. But when they come to me, I don't compare. I don't say, okay, so that's your problem. Well, let me tell you something about me.
Mm.
No, it's never about me. It's always about you.
Do you get annoyed when people come to you to fix their problems or ask for advice, and then you take the time to give your advice and then they just ignore it?
You get 2 opportunities to do that, and then you can fuck right off.
That's what I had to do. I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, that's you. If you come to me for advice and then you don't use it and shit goes wrong, and then you come back to me and you don't use it again and shit goes wrong, do not come back to me a third time because we're gonna have some fucking nasty words, at least.
Let's go back to ODing at the trap house. Where'd you go from there? To the hospital, I would imagine.
No, because of my affiliations at the time. My thing is I'm very protective of me, and you always have an image. So in my world, we weren't allowed to use drugs. In the skinhead
No
world,
shit.
we weren't allowed to. Because, it's American History X. What did he say? Weed is for the hard R's. Put that shit away. Well, we're talking about harder shit now. We weren't allowed to. So if I was going to the hospital and I got found out that I OD'd on coke, they would have killed me.
Legit.
My own guys, yeah. My guys would have hunted me down. And they did for 2 years. Once I left the clique, in our clique, we had a rule that if you aren't now, you never were. Okay? So if you weren't the commanding officer and you tried to leave, you're going to leave this planet. That's the way it's going to work. Because if you aren't now, you never were. And if you never were, you've been traitoring inside our organization. We don't know who you've been spreading this information to. You got to go. But if you were a commanding officer, you had the opportunity to walk that proverbial line where everybody lined up and they beat the fuck out of you. And if you got to the other end of the fucking line, which you won't, because we were bad motherfuckers, you were off scot-free.
Did you ever see a series called Banshee?
No.
There's a character in there that is very similar to what you're talking about. He was part of some white supremacist movement, and he tried to leave, and he had the insignia on his chest, and they burnt it off.
Oh, I've taken tattoos.
Fuck off.
Yeah, curling irons.
Curling iron.
Yeah.
With the
plug that motherfucker in. If you've got a tattoo I need back, I'm gonna plug this curling iron in. They're gonna hold you down, and I'm gonna roll this motherfucker over you until that tattoo is gone. I went super far. Like most of the time, they'll just exit. Like they'll just put an X on it. They'll just burn an X in it.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
And that means you've been excommunicated. I wanted my whole fucking tattoo back, and I wasn't gonna fucking stop. If I saw a bone, that's fine. I want every fucking ounce of ink out of that fucking arm of yours. So
would it be? Is that typically where it would be on an arm, or could it be anywhere?
Anywhere. Yeah, if you had a tattoo, if you had my tattoo on the side of your dick, I'm taking it back. I might use a razor blade and just cut the whole fucking thing off, but I'm taking it back. That's mine.
So I presume the tattoo is to signify allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanted to leave, so would you allow anyone to leave?
We had the rules. If you weren't a commanding officer, you weren't leaving. If you tried to leave, you're done. But if you were a commanding officer, you could walk that line, like I said, or you had the option to take a 2-year green light, which means for 2 years after your exit date, any fucking time, anybody got one out for you. Somebody got a hard on one night, they were a little bit drunk, they can come to your house and they'll fucking hunt you down. So if you make it through 2 years of being hunted, you get off scot-free. So,
and I presume that's what you did.
Yep. That's why I never mentioned my clique name.
So as a clique name, meaning the name of your clique?
Yep.
Clique. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that was part of our rules. Like you couldn't mention the name publicly because that would then reaffiliate you in the past, and now you're on again.
No way.
Yeah.
So if you were to name your clique name, your 2 years starts again.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're still active, and they're bigger. So.
And are they in Illinois?
Yeah. Well, they're everywhere.
Oh, so you're
So
open season for anybody, anywhere?
yeah, yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, yeah. We didn't fuck around. Like we wanted to be the baddest motherfuckers of the bunch, and we were in our area at least. You know, I mean, of course, you got your prison gangs that are way bigger, the Aryan Brotherhood, Nazi lowriders, you know, the Rebel Cause, all this. You know, that was a different world because that was a prison emanation, like that emanated out of the prisons. So it was a different world. But we were streets, we were street cliques. So, but then you spider off and you make allegiances with other cliques, and then like I could call in a favor from from my area down and be like, hey, I got a fucking dude that ran out and he's in your area. I'm gonna need that taken care of. $4,000 done.
Why did you decide to leave?
Because ecstasy. Because ecstasy was the one thing that when I took 7 double stack fish. Now a double stack fish, there's dolphins, there's birds, there's doves. It's the animal, the insignia that's stamped into the pill.
Okay,
to
got it.
kind of
Yep. Hey,
mark
brother.
mark where it came from. I took double stacks, which
What does
was
that mean?
basically 2 pills in one.
Okay, yeah.
So I took 7 double stack fish in one night, and that's unheard of. But I was able to
So
go
you
to
took
the
14 ecstasy pills.
basically, yeah. So I was able to get to the fucking moon, and because I was there, that was what allowed me. There was something in my brain that was allowed to open up and look at this racial divide from a different angle. Like, okay, it was the moment I was like, white people fuck white people over all the time.
True.
Okay, so if that's the case, then let's look at everybody else. Every racial demographic I was going through, but it didn't all end there. Like I wasn't like, oh, I'm not racist anymore, like everything's great, but it opened the door. It allowed me to get the foot in the door to a new perspective. And because sober, I'm always about wisdom and perspective. That intrigued me. So I dove. Like, I don't have to be racist. I don't have to hate you because of this and that and the other thing. So then, at that point, I was like, now I'm in this position where I get new wisdom and I get a new perspective. And it's kind of like getting a new toy at Christmas, like I get to open this up. I get to experience it. I get to fuck with it. It's good.
Okay. And so at that point, you had the epiphany that you needed to leave.
Yeah. But that was a little bit before I actually left. So
I would imagine.
So
you came to the conclusion internally that you wanted to leave. How did you do it?
I gathered everybody for our church meeting because we just called it church. A lot of MCs use church as a term. And we kind of were modeled after the MC because the MC culture worked, so we had our church meeting and I had my SIGs. I always carried twin SIGs.
Nice.
357.
You like SIGs?
Yeah, I love SIGs. That's what I carry every day. P365 SAS every single day. Never leave home without it, except in Florida.
Why can't you carry? How does that
I
work?
couldn't get it on a plane.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
I didn't want to check a bag. You can bring it, but you got to fill out all this paperwork. And you got to check the bag. I don't want to check bag.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. But I used to carry 2 polished 357 SIGs, not magnums, just semi-autos. But I would carry twins, and I put them in my back. I loved shoulder holsters at the time.
Yeah.
But I just put them in the back of my jeans because they knew where I carried. So if they came at me, the first thing they were going to do is pin my arms down so they get my guns. So I stood up in front of 40 some people and I was like, I'm fucking out and we're going to figure it out right now. And I just waited for him to come, and fucking place fell silent. You could see the fucking the veins coming in people's necks. Like, cause I mean, that's a visceral thing. Like, you have now just told me that everything I've learned from you was bullshit.
Do you not think that you're allowed to grow?
Growing out of not loving your own race is not growth at that point. That's rescendence. That's you're regressing. You're going back to some caveman shit. Like, no, we're the fucking elite here. And if you don't want to be part of the fucking elite, you're going to be part of the dead.
Okay. So what happened?
They didn't come. They not in that meeting. There was some times at gas stations and shit where I had to scrap, but our big thing was we didn't do guns. We did sticks, bats, anything you wanted, just wasn't guns. It wasn't personal enough.
What about knives?
Yeah. We do knives. But I mean, if as soon as you fight somebody with a knife once or twice, you know exactly the hack and slash bullshit you're gonna get
Most
from
people
them.
don't know how
So
to fight properly with a knife.
exactly. Now, if I saw somebody coming at me without the blade going this way, but with the blade going this way, I was like, this motherfucker knows what he's doing. Let's watch that hand. Let's watch that shoulder. Let's watch his neck, because you know your neck is naturally gonna pivot. You know, so there's little idiosyncrasies you can pick up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Plus, you can use it as like a hook, right?
Yep.
When you grab the person's hand, you can, and then you can come in and
Yeah.
yeah, I love fighting with knives.
Yeah, yeah, and like, and it's you get it's basically a double swing, so you can pop them in the face and then come out
Yep.
like this, and then rip it back,
Yep.
and your whole throat's gone.
Yeah, I studied Cali for 5 years, and it's just essentially knife fighting. So, like, I didn't really go for the blade that way. I was able to, like, I just like doing it this way because you were able to, like, carve people up, like just go up the arm and then across the neck, and then beautiful thing. It sounds fucked up to say that it's a beautiful thing, but it's an art.
I was gonna say it's art. You know?
It's a fucked up art, but okay. So for basically for 2 years, you had to watch your back.
Mhm.
And I suspect you had circumstances where things went sideways.
Yeah, well, I mean, gas stations. We had a couple fucking scraps at the mall, you know, and at that point was like,
If you had somebody with you, would they be involved in the altercation too, or is it
No.
always just you?
it was only me. Like, if I was surrounded by 15 people, the old clique would do whatever they could do to get those people away from me, and then take me.
Mm. And it would be multiple against you, or it'd be one-on-one?
No, it's not one-on-one. We didn't do one-on-one. No. This was, we're gonna win, and we don't give a fuck if we got to pick up a Buick and throw it at you. There's going to be 6 of us to do it.
Okay.
So if you saw one, like there was times where, like, I was at Gurney Mills one day, and I saw one of the guys, and that's when I was like, okay, where's the rest? Because he was looking at me when I made eye contact with him. We didn't go alone. Never happened, because we were all boots and braces. And
What is it? Boots and braces? What does that mean?
so boots and braces is suspenders and your boots. So a lot of skinheads will wear paratrooper boots from the military. I liked Grinders. They were from England. It was a brand of boot.
Okay.
Had a thicker sole on it, steel toe. I could really get some stomping done with these motherfuckers. And then the color of your laces and the color of your braces, color of your suspenders meant something.
No shit.
So when you see skinheads, racist skinheads, there's traditional skinheads out there that aren't racist, or sharp skinheads against racial prejudice. If the sharps typically will wear yellow laces, at least back in the day. But I call them real skinheads, regular skinheads, racist skinheads, we would wear white or red laces and white or red braces. So if you had white laces in your boots and white suspenders,
Yeah.
you were a foot soldier. You were probably pretty new to the movement.
Yeah.
And you were just doing your thing. If you had red laces, that meant you had shed blood. And then if you had, and within combination with white braces, but if you had red braces and red laces, that meant you have done other things. You know, like you have proven some points. You know.
Wow.
So I was red on red. Plus I was a CO, so I had thicker braces, because the width of our suspenders meant something too.
Wow.
You'll see a lot of people wear really skinny suspenders. Those are fucking, you don't need to worry about them guys. They're hack and slashers. They're rhetoric mouthpieces, and you're probably going to level them pretty quickly. But if you walk up on somebody that's got red laces, red braces, and they're a fucking 1.5 inches wide, you want to leave. Yeah, that's all there is to it. You want to leave. You don't want to fuck with that guy. That was me.
Outstanding. We haven't even gotten into your personal views of current trends, and I've just been so fascinated about your history. And dude, I had no idea we're getting into this shit. Like, so how we're already an hour? Dude, we got to do another rollback.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, but let's continue for a bit more because I'm having a good time with this. Okay, so you leave. Where do you go from there?
Make it through the 2 years.
Okay.
Look over your shoulder. I had a couple of friends that would come over and start my car for me, make sure it wouldn't blow up. You know, start my wife, my girlfriend's car at the time, and then shit didn't blow up. They'd leave and leave around.
What? Okay, so was there at least a sense of honor that they didn't want collateral damage? Let's just say your friend started your car and they got fucked up. How do they feel about that?
You shouldn't have been there.
Wow.
You know, like because he's now aiding me.
Right.
We go back to the scenario, if I'm just surrounded by a bunch of guys at the mall, they'll try to get them away. They're not aiding me in that present moment. These dudes are helping me, which means they're anti-click. They're the enemy now. So whatever, they shouldn't have been there.
Okay. You survived the 2 years. Then what?
I got a note in the mailbox, said we're done.
No shit. They actually fucking sent you a letter.
No, they put it in. It was basically a piece of paper or index card that says we're done now.
And they honor that.
Yep.
Well, at least there's some honor in that.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you've won.
Yeah. You get to have kids now.
Whoa. So what had happened? What would have happened if you had kids during that time?
No, not nothing. But I say you could have kids now because it was
okay. You're no longer.
You could be at peace. You didn't have this extra thing to bring this child into.
Okay.
You know?
Would they? You had a girlfriend at the time, you said, right?
Yeah.
Would she be a target as well?
No.
Okay. So, okay.
We didn't do women unless women were involved.
Okay. I can respect that then.
Yeah.
And kids and women, not like
kids were always off limits.
Good.
We didn't fuck with kids. And it comes back to like modern trends. We drew the line as a society hundreds of fucking years ago that kids are off limits.
Mm.
Your kid has nothing to do with your beef. So we're going to handle that beef. Now, it won't go so far as to say we can't take your life because your child needs a father.
No, I get it. I get it. No, you know what? As fucked up it is, at least there's some semblance of honor with that. Yeah. Okay, you got the index card in the mail. What did you decide to do from there?
Live.
Okay, what did you want to do?
I didn't know. I knew my whole life's dream was to be the dad that I didn't have.
Right.
But in the most proper ways. Teach them what they needed to know, allow them to be independent enough to figure life out somewhat on their own, but get them to go do something productive. And that's what they've done, and at that point, that's all I wanted to do at that point was just be the dad I always wanted. Now I've lived that out. Now I've started multiple businesses, failed multiple businesses, and just keep on plugging,
Okay. I think what we're going to do with this podcast is I just want to talk about the man, right? I definitely want to bring you back again and talk about your philosophies about what's happening. But dude, fuck me. I had no idea what I was getting into. That's why I don't like to know too much about you, right? When I do a podcast, I don't want to know too much, but I sure as fuck didn't know we were going here, right? That's why when we were outside, I'm like, stop talking, right? But wow, you're a deep motherfucker. No, you are, man. And I don't fluff people. Like such an honor to talk to you, man.
I feel the same way. Like I respect the shit out of you,
Thank you. Let's talk about where you are today, what you're trying to do right now.
What I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to get rid of this fucking day job bullshit, building somebody else's dreams every day while mine fall to the wayside. So that's why in 2017, I started a company called Rogue Saint Clothing Company. And our motto was do your own good. Because I'm on this personal development. My big thing is I want to help people get better, but I got to do it in my own motherfucking way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't be your Lewis Howes and I can't be your Dean Graziosi. I can't be your gentle push, your gentle nudge. I've got to be the foot in the balls, like you're fucking this up, wham,
Same.
So I started the company in Rogue 17 called Rogue Saint Clothing Company. And I started it with a couple of friends of mine, husband and wife team. And at the time I was homeless. So they were allowing me to sleep on their couch for a little while. So I was like, well, I'm going to do you the solid since you're helping me out and I'm going to bring you in. What can you do? And at the time, the wife had run numbers for a car dealership. So I was like, great.
Run numbers. What does that mean?
She was the accountant.
Okay.
Banker,
that way.
The whatever for a car dealership. So I was like, okay, you got numbers. So you're the CFO, obviously. And I had to learn what that term was. and the husband was we made him operations officer. I did everything else. I'm like, dude, all you got to do is make sure that the shit's selling and getting delivered. And all you got to do is make sure the numbers are getting put into QuickBooks. And then
the lights stay on.
And then all year long, it was like I felt like I was being bullshitted. Come to find out, after a year, the government fucking messages me and says, we're going to file your fucking taxes. We're going to fuck in the ass now. And so I called
That's
the
another
wife.
thing we have in common.
So I called the wife and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I got the husband, and I don't want to give their names, but
I respect that.
but I got the husband, and he's like, oh, it was this and it was this. And I was like, why the fuck are you talking? Like, I was done now. The government's up my ass for something I thought we were doing good on. So why the fuck are you talking? And then you kept talking. I was like, fine, fuck it. Why the fuck? And then I brought my who is my current wife now. I had just started seeing, I brought her in, and I was like, here's the fucking information. I don't know, understand anything about this. Zero things do I understand about this. Here's the information. Figure out what I need to do, please. She goes in and found out there was literally 1 cent entered into QuickBooks all year long. And we had a bunch of sales. We did a lot of expos and shit, sales on person, on site. And so I didn't know what the fuck to do from there. And I got mad and I was like, well, and we had contracts. I'm a huge fan of contracts. Huge fan of contracts.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is if you're dealing with a good person, you don't need a contract. And if you're dealing with a bad person, a contract's not going to save you.
The way I look at it is, I don't know who I'm dealing with when this goes in, because people change all the fucking time.
I hate that too.
Let's talk about the future and protecting my ass.
I get it. I get it. I just, to me, and the way I've conducted business, if I shake your hand and we have a deal, then all the other shit is bullshit, right? So quite often in negotiations with my company, I've hired people. I'll be like, you and I, we have a deal. Yes. Yes. Okay. You guys can handle the details now. I'm going to go take a piss.
Yeah.
Right. So if your word isn't good enough, then the contract is bullshit. Because then ultimately you and I are not going to have a relationship. If you're a piece of shit, if I shake your fucking hand and you and I have a deal, I expect you to honor that deal. I will fucking hold up my end to the dick, but I expect you to do the same.
But most people ain't like that.
I know, man.
If I shake your hand, my whole motto is, if your word don't mean shit, you don't fucking mean shit.
Agreed.
So if I shake your hand, that means something to me. That means everything to me.
That's your word, bro.
But these motherfuckers nowadays, words are easy.
Yeah, I know.
That's all.
We've lost that honor.
Yeah. There's no honor. And
yeah, that's disappointing to me.
Very, very few people in this world are honorable.
Yeah, I find that, dude, listen, and I've said this many, many times on this show. I started training in martial arts at 15. I'm 58. My entire life has been training and about honor and respect for people. And that's why, as we were outside and you said something, I'm like, fuck, I don't understand how people think like that.
Mm.
And it's just such an alien concept. And for you to say people don't have honor, I'm like, but why not? How have we lost that path?
Because we have been taught and conditioned and programmed to believe that the only person on earth that we have to honor is right here. Whatever the fuck we got to do in this moment, not any moment, this moment, whatever the fuck has to happen right now to honor me, that's what has to happen.
But how can you look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the night and say, I'm okay with what you did today?
Mental gymnastics. I'm protecting me. If I'm safe, my family's safe, they're fed, this and that, and then you start going through this roller coaster of fucking bullshit that you convince yourself for fucking that guy over so you don't feel bad.
Yeah, I suppose. But do you not think that deep down you have to be aware that you're a piece of shit?
Well, of course. That's why fucking America takes so much Xanax. We're the number one user of prescription drugs. And it's to dull that feeling of I'm a piece of shit.
Do you not think it would be easier than just to not be a piece of shit?
Oh, dude, I love not being a piece of shit. I was a piece of shit. Trust me, I know the symptoms. I love not being a piece of shit. Yeah. I love the fact that I've earned in my life, as you have, as everyone we would ever associate with. We've earned the ability to walk up and be respected. We've earned the ability to say something and have it be the word, be done.
That's why I take such offense to disrespect.
Yeah.
Right. And not only to me, me personally, but when I see somebody disrespecting somebody else, it gets me very edgy. Because I just don't think you should exist that way. I don't think you should conduct yourself. But if somebody disrespects me, not a good idea.
Yeah, there's things there's different ways I'll handle that, and especially if I'm out in public. Like this morning, I went to Walgreens because I had to get a new razor because, like I said, there's something in the fucking water made my hair grow faster and it can't come out all fucking half shaven, bald, and so I went and got a fucking razor. And the lady at the counter was giving the cashier a bunch of shit, and I wanted to fucking punch Karen in the back of the head with a brick.
Yeah,
but I didn't because I don't want to go to prison. But if I'd have been the woman on the other side of the counter, I lost my job because I would. Like
I know.
I'd have bounced your fucking head off of this register.
That's why I don't
until you
speak
saw
to
numbers.
customers. Like in my company, I don't speak to customers because I can't handle disrespect. I just don't like it.
Right.
Because I think I conduct myself in a very honorable manner,
Mm.
and I think I'm very gracious and charitable to people. So then if you go above and beyond to actually try and fucking flex on me, ugh, I hate it.
Well, here's the thing that I noticed. Number one, very first thing I noticed about you when we met in person is every time you shake somebody's hand, you bow. You bow your head.
Yeah.
Most people won't pick up on that. To me, that's gigantic. Like that's fucking gigantic. That is this man that's standing in front of me that doesn't know me, honoring me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not only are you taking your eyes off the target, you're trusting me. You know, that's a fucking huge thing. You like, I shook your hand, you bowed your fucking head, and I was like, this dude's real shit. You know, but people won't pick up on that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But that's where you get to say, I gave you honor first. I honored you. I gave you a tribute. I trusted you. I showed you that I could take my eyes off of you and trust you long enough to know you wouldn't hurt me. You know,
but I did watch your waist. Like,
of course you did.
Yeah, like I still had somewhat of a peripheral on you just in
Yeah.
case you decide to shift. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to give someone respect and honor, and then it's up to you if you decide to lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I respect and honor anybody I meet, whether it's in the moment or long term. Long term, you got to earn everybody is worthy of common fucking decency right out of the gate.
Yes, but there are some shifty cunts out there that you could just feel right from the start that I'm not going to like you.
Well, and I'll tell them. Like if somebody walked up, like we were out dinner one night or something, and somebody walked up, like I said earlier, you're cool, you're cool, you're cool. I don't like you already. You get the fuck away from me.
I can't thank you enough for this conversation.
Oh, I appreciate being here, dude.
Yeah, you, what a gift. What a fantastic story.
I think that'd be great, right?
Yeah, but still, man, I'm so honored to have spoken to you.
Yeah. Feelings mutual, brother. I promise you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
It was an honor to meet you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
My pleasure.